Hi everyone, it's Jennifer, Denny, and Lori from Linguistics 102, and our language for Project 3 is Ilokano. From ethnologue.com, the only site we're allowed to use for this project, we found that Ilokano can be spelled with a C or a K in the middle. So in print, you might see it as Ilokano or Ilocano. Ilocano is an Austronesian Malayo-Polynesian language and is mainly spoken in the northern part of the Philippines. We got these pictures from Google Images, Ilocano Northern Philippines Map, Wikipedia. We did not read a Wikipedia page, we just screen grabbed a couple of pictures off Google. We like the one on the left because it shows the areas where most Ilocano is spoken, and the one on the right shows that it's spoken in other areas, but isn't the main language except for in the north.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about Ilocano morphology. To make plurals of some nouns, in Ilocano you can sometimes use reduplication. This will usually occur during the first consonant and vowels in the word. For example, obeng abasit is baby and obobeng is the word for babies. The singular form of dog is aso, and the plural dogs is asa aso. After analyzing our data sheets, we found that baby in Ilocano is obeng abasit. Two babies is dawa nga obeng abasit. Three babies is talo nga obeng abasit. And some babies is darama na obeng abasit. We can see a pattern in the plurals of baby where the plural connector na is used to connect specific quantifying adjectives to the noun they are describing. Please forgive us for our mispronunciations. Based on our data sheets, it seems that Ilocano uses articles for definiteness and indefiniteness, much like we do in English. Tai means the and describes a specific noun. For example, Tai aso means the dog. Likewise, Tai babai means the woman. Seems to mean a, which is an indefinite article that refers to one noun that is not necessarily one specific noun. For example, T obeng abasit means a baby. Our team analyzed several transitive sentences with objects. These sentences contain the word na. As we looked at intransitive sentences, we couldn't find any examples with the word na. Therefore, since we only see the word na in transitive sentences, we believe na is an object marker for the sentence. As we look through these examples of changing present tense verbs to past tense, we can see a pattern emerge. It looks as though adding na either as a separate word or by attaching a n prefix to the front part of the verb, you can change the action from present to past tense. For instance, take a look at example 1. Kita, or see, is changed by adding na in front of it. Na kita means seen. Sometimes, like in this case, na is a free morpheme, and other times it seems to operate like a prefix attaching to the front of a verb, as in example 4. In example 4, we see that changing eat to ate only involve changing out the first letter M in mangan for the prefix N, creating nangan, 8. Whether you're adding N to the front of the word or using na as a separate marker, they both indicate that an action has taken place in the past. However, further analysis shows that this isn't a firm 100% consistent rule. In sample 5, you can see that the word ited for give was changed to inikan or inted for gave. We wonder if inikan may be a synonym for ited or gave. If you look at example number 2 for sleep, you can see a good rule of thumb for indicating future tense, and that's to add a freestanding marker word to after the verb. Maturag, which means sleep, becomes maturag to, will sleep. Other parts of speech, though, are more consistently made up of and used with free morphemes, which can stand alone. Let's talk more about future tense. Pay attention to the green parts towards the bottom of this slide. In number 6, example 1, we can see another instance where changing a verb to the future tense occurs by using to after the verb. Ag ragsak, which means is happy, is changed to ag ragsak to, she will be happy. Again, it's the word to after the verb that indicates future tense. This is also true in number 6, example 2. Kitan nan means she sees. When you add to the end of it, it becomes kitan nan to, which means she will see. One way to show possessives is to attach a suffix k to a noun. For example, the possessive pronoun my can be made by adding a k at the end of the noun to indicate that something belongs to you. For example, aso is dog in Ilokano. To express my dog, you add the k at the end of aso. It becomes asok. Ima is hand. It becomes imak for my hand. If you want to say a noun belongs to him or is his, you can use the word na after a noun. So ima na means his hand. If you want to say a noun belongs to her or is hers, you can use the word ta after the noun. Aso ta babai means the woman's dog. Ima ta babai means the woman's hand.
Let's talk syntax. Ilocano is an agglutinating language. When we look at the verbs, we can see that their meaning is retained no matter their position in the sentence. As we discussed in the morphology section, there are instances like in possessives and past tense verbs in which new words are created by attaching prefixes and suffixes to nouns and verbs. But the parts are easily removed and they retain their meanings. Ilocano as a whole has many free morphemes as well. Ilocano is a language that has a verb object subject or VOS sentence structure and pattern. Verbs and verb phrases occur first at the beginning of the sentence, the object comes next, then the subject last. In this example, mat turog tai obeng abasit, the verb mat turog, the word for sleeping, is positioned first, and the subject tai obeng a basket, the baby, comes at the end of the sentence. There is no object in this sentence. This is another example of the VOS sentence structure. The sentence nakita na tai balay tai babay has the verb nakita, which means saw, at the beginning of the sentence. The verb phrase contains the object, which follows the verb. The object is tai balay, or the house. The subject tai babae, or the woman, is at the end. This last example also shows the VOS word order of the language. This sentence is a bit more complicated and includes a negation at the beginning and a connector in the middle, but you can still see the verb object subject structure and pattern of this sentence. When looking at our data, we found that besides having the VOS structure, some sentences also contain connectors, like the word na, that was between the verb phrase and the noun phrase. Some verb phrases contain just the verb itself, but other verb phrases contain similar connectors. This last example from 2.11 has a connector na positioned after the verb and before the object. Our data set contained noun phrases that sometimes included a determiner, tai, or the, then followed by a noun, like in sentence 1.2, tai obeng abasit, which means the baby. Noun phrases also contain connectors such as na or na between the nouns and the adjectives, like in our second example in 1.5. Noun phrases also sometimes contain a location marker, like idie, between the noun and prepositional phrase. This last example from 3.14 shows this location marker in the phrase tai aso idie uneg tai balai, the dog in the house. When prepositional phrases were evaluated, these patterns emerged. The prepositional phrase format seems to follow the structure of first the preposition in, besides, on, etc., which is followed by the determiner and noun, which is similar to English prepositional phrases. The data show that when the adjective was added to the prepositional phrase, it came after the preposition and preceding the noun, also similar to English.
Sometimes adjectives appear before the noun, and sometimes they appear after the noun, but in both cases, they are joined with a connector or connectors between the noun and adjective. When we look at this example, we can see a word that we are unable to translate because we don't have a word just like it in English. The word is EDA. It appears that EDA is a word that acts like a location marker. In this case, it appears between the subject and the verb phrase. It tells the listener that in the next bit of information will introduce a prepositional phrase about location. We labeled EDA as LOC on the slide. As you can see, EDA appears before the prepositional phrase uneg ta balai, in the house. On this slide, you can see a few other examples where the connector EDA is used to signal that a location is coming up in the sentence.
Our data show that negations are created in Ilokano by adding han or han na to a statement. You can see in the examples where the words highlighted in red indicate the change needed to negate the sample sentence. One example, the baby is sleeping, mat maturog tai obeng abasit, is changed to the baby is not sleeping. Han a mat maturog tai obeng abasit. The next example shows that ag gorigor tai aso, the dog is sick, changes to the dog is not sick by adding the han na at the beginning of the sentence. Han na ag gorigor tai aso. The next two examples illustrate the same negations.
Ag sometimes can turn a declarative sentence into a yes-no question, as in the first example on this slide. Gorigor tai lakai nag asak, which means my old dog is sick. This can be changed to a yes-no question just by adding ag to the front of the sentence before the verb. Ag gorigor tai lakai na asak means, is my old dog sick? Sometimes, however, ag appears to be a regular is verb. So, just because you see ag in the front of the sentence doesn't necessarily mean it's a question. For example, in the declarative sentence, ag gorigor tai aso, here ag is a regular is verb and the sentence is declarative. The dog is sick.
In Ilokano, asino is the word for who. You can change tai babai or the woman to a who question by simply adding asino to the front of the sentence. This is called fronting, which we also do in English. So asino tai babai means who is the woman. We can infer from the negated version han na kinan tai ikan tai babai, or the woman didn't eat the fish, that the deep structure would have been kinan tai ikan tai babai, the woman ate the fish. We can further guess that to say the woman ate would be kina tai babai. You can add the Ilokano word for what, anat, to the very front of the sentence and leave the entire phrase basically the same to create a what question, like anat kinan na tai babai, which means what did the woman eat? To change a declarative sentence to a passive sentence, you just have to change the order. No new connectors or new words are necessary. In the declarative sentence, the woman ate the fish, in Ilocano the word order is verb, object, subject, and sounds like kinan na tai ikan tai babai. In the passive version of the sentence, the fish was eaten by the woman. The object and verb swap places, so the object is at the front, followed by the verb, and finally the noun. That sounds like tai ikan kinan tai babai.
As we know, copulars are verbs that show state of being in sentences. Ilocano is a language that has expressed copulars as evidenced by this example. Nag tasak tai obing abasit, or was the baby happy? In this sample, we can see in the verb subject order of Ilocano that the verb na is a copular in this sentence.
In conclusion, Ilocano is a language that follows a VOS verb, object, subject, sentence structure, and pattern. Some interesting insights for us have been their use of phrase connectors such as na and location connectors such as EDA. It was also interesting to find reduplication for the present progressive verbs as well as some plurals. In verbs and possessive nouns, Ilocano sometimes uses prefixes and suffixes to show tense and ownership, but they tend to use more free, unbound morphemes than English. Lastly, despite their major syntax differences between Ilocano and English, we found it very interesting that prepositional phrases were surprisingly very similar to English.